Hello.
Yeah,
Welcome.
hi.
For the guys who are just tuning in, my name is Ilse. I work at Envision, and for this panel session, I have René Espinoza. Is that how I pronounce it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
And Marco Trujillo. Marco from Sunu Band and René from Lazarillo. And I'm super happy to have you guys here. Um, can you tell me a little bit about what you do and how you got into accessibility?
Sure. You want to go first, Rene?
Please, Marco.
Good to see you, by the way, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Sure. So what we do, we build a mobility aid for people with visual impairments. It's this bracelet over here. It uses sonar to detect obstacles within 5-meter range, deliver vibratory feedback to tell the user where these obstacles are. And then it complements with an app that lets the user adjust the way the Sunu Band works, opens to more features on them, navigation features, location features, so they can access everything from the band without needing to take their phone out of their pockets. The primary function of our device is to provide protection to the upper body, because canes and dogs usually don't cover from your knees up to the head, and also to extend the awareness of the user, because again, these other tools are very limited in terms of range. So that's the Sunu Band. And in my personal situation, I got into the assistive technology early on. It came originally from an personal experience. My best friend from childhood is deaf, so I was raised along with him. We are same age. And during my experience living with him, I learned a lot. I helped him many times, and I realized how there's just a lot of things that need to be fixed for make these things accessible for them. So helping him along his career and everything has raised or inspired me into learn more and see how we can help all this population. So early on, I got into assistive technology. I have a passion for developing. I'm a robotics engineer. I won my first competition in robotics at 15 years old, but I kept doing robotics for a long period in my life. I represented the country in a couple of times in international competitions. Then at my 18 years old, I started doing prototypes for disability. I total built 7 devices for people with cerebral palsy, deafness, blindness. And then one of the last devices was actually the Sunu Band. So I built that in a collaboration with a blind institute in Mexico.
Yeah.
So because I saw the impact that the product was doing for the students of this school, and the adoption of their parents, the interest in their parents in acquiring it, I decided to, for the first time, make a commercial product. And then that's how I started the business. That's how I started the company.
Wow. So it's really from passion, from youth. That's
It's
beautiful.
pure passion, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Just,
And Renee, how about you?
Sure. So, well, I will start how it begins. Um, I always wanted since very little to work on health devices to make well-being of people or improve health. So I studied electrical engineering, and while I was studying, I also got the chance to work with a medical institution doing assistive technology. So we prototype a lot of things. I work with people with Parkinson's, with ALS, and different like sort of difficulties to move. And so we develop assistive technology to improve their lives. And then we came across a project that they asked me if I could develop a mobile app for the blind community. It was not Lazarillo, but it was an app that was supposed to be providing them a little bit more information about the subway. And at that time, I didn't knew that that was possible, actually. So smartphones were quite new, and I said, like, how you being blind will be able to touch a touchscreen, right? Like it doesn't have a surface and all that. But I didn't know so much about that. And I researched a lot. I discovered there was a standard for accessibility on web accessibility, and companies like Apple and Android Google were doing improvements so app developers can provide accessibility features inside their apps. And also interact with over 30 people with different visual disabilities, from low vision to the blindness. And I discovered the way what works, what didn't work. And after that specific project, I decided to dedicate my thesis. It was a 1-year thesis on the first prototype of Lazarillo. So, and a member of my actual team, Miguel Gonzalez, that he helped me on that time. He was also a teacher of he had like 6-year teaching assistive technologies. And so I thought like, he's the guy that can help me prototype. And then we actually did more testing with our users. And then after a year of finishing my thesis, we started Lazarillo just because in that middle year, I learned about entrepreneurship. Like in college or university, you don't know so much about that. So, and that was the key for us to actually go ahead and start the project. And yeah, that's how it started in 2016, in January 2016. And Lazarillo, so for people that doesn't know Lazarillo, we develop technology so people can be more independent, and so that companies and public institutions can improve their customer experience for people with disabilities. So we have an app that provides wayfinding, orientation, so that you can move through a city and know about different services of companies. And then they will have a platform that we can integrate with companies so that hospitals, banks, universities, and museums even can add their venue, for example, so that a person using Lazarillo can book a meeting with a doctor, with a hospital, and then go to that meeting and navigate inside the hospital by themselves. So we're connecting both the companies with the users, helping them do that. And that is free, and we, of course, charge companies.
Yeah, it's basically from in your home to at the appointment you have. You know your.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's quite interesting to have you both here together, because you both have a part of what you do is navigation, helping people to navigate. I'm curious, what are some of the biggest challenges that you didn't expect solving, you know, in the navigation for the blind? Like, what are the biggest challenges that you run into?
Marco, please.
And I think it's hard to say which are the biggest, you know. we usually face a lot of challenges, for example, and at different stages you face different types of challenges. Mm-hmm. So for example, initially one of the challenges we got is that we had prototypes that were working great, but the moment we tried with a bigger audience, because we were trying with kids in a school, then the moment we moved to adults or seniors, then a lot more challenges started to appear. And then I realized that I didn't dimension the magnitude of the problem properly at the beginning. And then you get to focus more in the field, and you see you have all different sorts of disabilities in the visually impaired spectrum. You have people with no vision, with low vision, with different conditions behind their visual impairment, who actually produce a different effect of your product on them. So designing one-fits-all solution seemed almost impossible at the beginning. So we were forced to, and this is one of the reasons why we also took longer to launch to the market. Mm-hmm. We were forced to make an app that can adjust the way the product works so it can adapt to different conditions. And yet there's some sorts of profiles which our product is not as effective as others. So we also need to tune more our marketing strategies and everything around. in order to make this a successful business case, which leads me to another problem, raising money. Initially, it's quite hard because I think one of the things that most investors think about this market when they hear about it is that, first of all, it's a niche market, and they associate that with being a small market.
Yeah.
And also is that there's not too much competition, there's not too much comparison with other markets that they can relate. So they fear this market. They don't understand it. So you have to educate them enough in order to move the deal forward. I will say that were probably my two initial stones that I trip on. How about you, René?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
those are pretty big ones.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that in a way, what Mark is saying is true, that you have different type of users, one more advanced than others. And one of the things that you need to do is, as a company, understand that and have communication with them so that you can actually try to make your product as simple as possible, so that even a person that's really into technology can use it, but also someone that is just starting can use it too. I think that's always a challenge, and especially if you have users in different countries. Sometimes things that you that are working in your local country that you go out and test and could not work in another country. There are many examples, but in a way, I believe that all tends to be on having a user focus all the time. Like these are your users, and in a way, you need to continue. It's not one time that you focus on them. It's like always focusing on how things adapt. I would say also on our side, of course, like raising money is a challenge, definitely. We have another challenge that we actually sell to companies. We sell to, they're the ones that pay us. So I'm from Chile. I'm actually now in Mexico, just in Mexico City, just nearby where Marco is. But and we work mostly in Latin America currently. In terms of working with companies, we're looking to expand, but we have companies in Chile, now in Costa Rica. We're trying to do things in Mexico, and here in Latin America, laws on regulation for accessibility are not good. They're like actually companies that is not in their agenda. So our approach to them is at the beginning was quite hard to actually making them realize that if they have 5 million customers, there is a percentage of them that has a disability and they don't know anything about them. And then like showing them that if they do this, they will not only impact that end customer, but their family members, and it will increase their brand awareness and in a way compete with their competitors in a different way. And then they have budget for that things. And then you can work out with companies. But of course, it's a challenge. We needed to position awareness, and I think this is why events like this are good, because it can put the word out like, hey, accessibility, there's a huge population, there's 1 billion people with disabilities around the world. So look your country and see if you're targeting that person. Like, are you selling to them? Maybe you actually are selling and you don't know anything about them. So understanding your customers is something that is important.
That is really important. Yeah, that's why we're here today, of course. And it's interesting that you said, yeah, we are selling to companies. Marco, you're selling to end customers, business to consumer. Before I had a conversation with Hector from Microsoft, that he also said it's also sometimes difficult to make people understand that you have to pay for these kind of products. It can't always be for free, because there's a lot of money going into creating this product and everything. How do you cope with that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I believe it's so providing awareness, working with the community, and like providing power to the community, like they can actually ask for this, is something that is important. And we have managed to create a brand, and we always work with local institutions so that they can help us expand, and we provide in the software. And that had worked out. We did this test at the beginning in Costa Rica, that is, I would say, a country with a small population. They don't have any difference in terms of laws for accessibility. From Chile, actually, they have less incentives, I would say. And we tested the same thing that we were doing in Chile, and it worked out. Now they have customers, and we realized that we can do this without having great laws that, of course, they help, but our approach is to do it without them, right? So that it could work in countries like Latin America or other countries that they don't have that policy so advanced, right?
Yeah. Actually, my next question was about the problem that we're talking about, the awareness for accessibility, and accessibility on its own is both a global and a local problem that we're all trying to solve here. Do you have something in plan for localizing for the global scale that you guys are reaching?
Marco?
Yeah, so in our case, we do. I mean, initially, in the story of Sunu, we focused on selling in the US. We try to build a business case over there that worked well, but we suddenly start receiving orders from elsewhere in the world. So it was hard to say no. And honestly, these days it's easier to make a global business because of the facilities that we have. Yeah. So we tried that, and that actually works. Our product now is translated in 30 languages. We have users in over 50 countries. We have partners, distribution partners, could be organizations or specialized resellers in 30 countries. And over time, we've been adapting our business model a little bit more to each country. We have been learning a lot of their needs, and it has been very interesting seeing how we have different types of needs, different types of markets, of perceptions. So some things are more important for one country than others. And these days, these months, we have been thinking seriously on providing a more localized business model for each country, which, comes with some challenges because it's quite broad. But I think it's also the best thing at the very end, because every market it's very different. So in our case, a $299 price for people in the US or in some countries in Europe is affordable, but for some customers in India or in Africa, it can be very challenging. So I think it's very important that we take this in consideration and figure out ways in order to adapt and make sure that our ultimate goal is achieved, which is providing value and impact to our end user.
Yeah. And would that also be then part of the roadmap? Would that be localized value to the user, or more the way you market your product that you already have?
In both things, on the market segment and on the products as well, starting by the basic translations of everything, manuals, the app itself, your videos, as much as you can, but also localized solutions. For example, we have users in China, we have users in India, and all the GPS app features on the Sunu Band don't work in China, for example, because they use a different type of maps. They use Beidou maps instead of Google Maps. So, these kind of things, you have to adjust them anyway. Otherwise, your product won't work. So yes,
Yeah, I get that. And Renee, how does it work for you?
Yeah, so well, we in a way we have the app that grows. We have users in many countries, and we now are. I mean, we work with users so that to translate the app, so that anyone that wants to translate Lazarillo connect with us and translate it, and so that it could actually be translated correctly in their native language, and they can test and all that, and we follow that. So that's how we do it with languages. We have also another side that is how we work with local partners that actually implement our technology locally. The app can work, have users around the world, but what we want is to expand our, I would say, technology for companies. So right, they can start improving the information, and it's not just a GPS point, it's actually a whole venue, like a university transformed in a way that you can find the bathrooms that are accessible, the cafeteria, the menu of that, and we have also expanded in a way for people that have mobility disabilities, so that if you want to have accessible route, for example, in a university campus, you can have it, and that is like our approach to this, like how we can start providing this locally, and through this test, we have now 3 countries that have local partners and promoters. So there's a company that has all the skills to implement Lazarillo, like the technology with a company, and then there's a promoter that help us reach more nonprofits or things like that. So the promoter is most of the time a nonprofit that, in a way, teach the app or provide awareness, and I think collaboration is super important for that. And so that's how we want to grow, and that's what we're doing. We of course are learning, and another ways that we see our future is collaborating with great companies like Marco, right? In which that we have a common goal. Like Sunu Band is great, and we have also a community that sometimes don't know about that, and we could, in a way, collaborate. So I think collaboration for us is the way to move forward, so that we can, in a way, provide our service, but also if we can, to also help other companies working on accessibility to have a bigger impact. And together we have more force. And I think that, for example, this is something that I believe is in the same pathway, right? Working together, doing a chat all together. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I think we feel the same way. It's community is very, very important. Definitely. I have, like, the time flies, it's crazy. I am having a question coming in from Karen Swan. It's for you, Marco. Is it not confusing or disorientating if surrounded by lots of obstacles or people? So is it then? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for asking, Karen. I mean, yes and no. It could be but there's certain adjustment that you can do to the van. We let you very easily manipulate the range of the sonar. So if you're in a situation that's very crowded, then you probably don't need 5-meter range detection. You shorten that to 2 meters or even 1 meter, depending on how crowded the situation is. And then we can also adjust the amplitude or the angle of the sonar, so it is more laser focused compared to flashlight focus. That way, you don't get as much noise, and you are able to detect those gaps, spaces between people, so you can surf the crowd conveniently. So we have certain types, certain things you can adjust, but also we have already setups. So we currently have 2 modes, like indoor and outdoor mode. So we play with these 2 variables I just mentioned, but you don't need to adjust them every time. You just select the setup you prefer, or is more adequate to the situation. And you can do this in just seconds, just by clicking a button, swiping to your setup, and double tapping to select the mode you prefer.
Gotcha. And then something that from William, a question that came in is, why did you decide to go for a wristband instead of something like a belt, glasses, or clip-on, or maybe something on your leg? Or how do you come up with that?
Yeah, I mean that was a tough decision to make, to be honest, because we tried a lot of different prototypes when we were starting. We tried canes, we tried belts, we tried stuff in your head. We ended up deciding going to a wristband because first, in the case of the canes, we realized that first of all, not all people who have visual impairment use a cane. And then even those who actually use it, even if they need it, which is kind of weird and alarming, but I understand. Then those who actually use it, they don't use it all the time. They probably use it like 20, 30% of the time, just when they need it. And this is an issue for technology, because the technology can be taken advantage of in many types of situations. So for example, if you're in the office, many people who are blind don't use their cane in the office because they know that the surface is flat, they feel comfortable, but then potentially someone could put a chair in the middle of the stairs or something. So this can be disturbing. They won't be aware. So the Sunu Band could be always there. So that's the first thing. We realized we needed to separate the technology from a cane. And also canes have a tendency to be each time lighter and longer. So putting the technology into the cane would make it heavier. And another reason is the cane is usually moving side to side, which also makes the technology sensing in the same direction. In the case of the Sunu Band, it doesn't work again in the sense that you have to be, swiping side to side. You actually use it in different ways depending on the situation. Sometimes you're following someone in a queue, so you have the sensor positioned at your front. Sometimes you're trying to find a landmark in the space, like a pole at the end of the street, then you're probably scanning. So sometimes you're trying to find a gap to get outside a building or outside a crowd situation. So that's why you need some flexibility to aim the sonar sensor.
Yeah.
So that's a part. Then putting the technology on the head, on the face, was very inconvenient. Most people don't like to put things on their face. Even if they are blind, we realize they really care about how they look. So they don't want to look stupid wearing something bulky on their head. So, trying other wearables, all of them had some cons and pros. But the good thing about the wrist is that most people are used to wear stuff on their wrist. Yeah. There was a tendency of the smartwatches happening at the time. So yeah, it makes more sense to put it over there. It has a lot of flexibility to aim, and it's very discreet to use, because the way we build it, the sonar sensor is on the side. So when you wear it and you have your hand laid down, it's naturally pointing forward. So you don't have to make, a lot of movements. Just gentle twist on your wrist is enough to scan the whole front and up ahead. So it's a more convenient. The only con is that the user needs to get used to that position at the beginning, but this is something that is solved within the first 20 minutes of experiencing the product. And it's mastered within the first 2-3 days of using it.
Wow. Okay. I hope that answered the question. William, thanks. Then for René. So summary, I work with a blind organization in the UK. When can we expect Lazarillo app in the UK? Can you already start working with businesses here remotely?
Yeah, so, Lazarillo works in the streets in the UK. And to work with companies right now, we're looking for a partner, local partner. If you happen to have one, please contact me at rene@lazarillo.app or app@lazarillo.cl. And I can write it down. But yeah, like we're looking for a local institution to partner up and start doing that. I actually went to the UK for a whole month, 3 years ago. and I think there's a lot of things possible to do there, especially because we have a lot of museums and sightseeing, and of course coronavirus get us all home. But even for that, right now we are doing things, new things, so that resources and information can be accessible through Lazarillo currently, and we start working with local governments in some countries, in Chile, Colombia, and we expect to get to more countries soon. And so if you have any connection, we tend to do that. Like if you send us an email through the app or whatever, and for connections, we actually answer back. So yeah, I believe that next year probably would be easier for us to move, but actually now we're able to provide the training, especially as companies are currently looking for new opportunities. I think that opens up a gap, so opportunity gap for us to position ourselves in that place. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. That's good to know.
And René, sorry for interrupting you.
Go ahead.
Quick parenthesis. I think I have a couple contacts that that can help, that will be very interested in bringing Lazarillo to the UK. So feel free to reach out when we are done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll do. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
So they could discuss after this. Gents, our time is up, but if you have time, I have one last question. I'm just super interested in the upcoming innovative technologies that you're excited about. Is there one or two things that you can mention, like that's really exciting? I would love to learn more.
Marco?
Start? Okay.
Yeah, you guys start.
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited as well. I'll try to disclose as much as I can. So yeah, we are working in some prototypes, next generation for the Sunu band, and also second different product. We want to get more involved into the vision spectrum. These days there's interesting tendencies in technology that the visually impaired community must definitely benefit, and you guys are actually doing a great work there in terms of voice assistance, which can provide a lot of interesting features, and vision recognition, AI. So we are a hardware company, so we also want to keep us in that direction, trying to provide a platform for the end user that can provide as many solutions as possible. Mm-hmm. And this also comes from learnings from our first product, the Sunu Band. I mentioned about the race, and I mentioned why we decided that. But of course, these days, some things have changed, so we could offer different types of solutions that can be suitable for the community. Also, these days I've learned how big the problem is. So our focus is to looking to be, like René said, more of an integrator type of company that can, provide an important element to the rest of the stakeholders like you guys, so we can provide a full solution, or as fullest as possible, at least for an end user.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to add that I believe that the future of assistive technology should be collaborative, like in a way that companies that are working on this could work together and see ways to work together. I believe that's the only way to actually make a real change in the world, because it's true that we're few companies trying our best to do the change. And if we don't work together, I believe that it's too hard, and so for only one company to reach the whole world, right? But if we join forces, I believe that we can provide even better solutions, more complete solutions, and for the end user be better at the end. I think that's I believe that that's really more important than even technology, because technology is changing all the time. And I think that technology is a tool. Like for us, we're seeing ways that Lazarillo can be more, in a way, human, like like interaction, like not only once he's talking to me, but I could be even a way so that you can talk to Lazarillo and in a way be more humanly interactive, right? And so that's one of the things that we are thinking of for the future. And for now, we are focusing all our efforts to support our users remotely when they are home, right? So that is, for example, one of the new features that should be available next week, I believe. There is a news feature so that most of the information on coronavirus is not accessible. It's not in a format that is accessible enough. So inside Lazarillo, as we have a big community, you will be able to get information of your local, of your country or your local institution. For this, we of course need the support of the community. And so inside Lazarillo, we will find a way to put in contact with, so to upload information from actually validating resources. So I think that's a new thing for us. So how we can support our users when they're home. And that's, I think that for the future will be a mix on a new channel of communication and also the navigation that we already have. Even though we have users that are continue going out, we want to hopefully help them to don't go out, right? To stay home. And so, yeah, I believe that what's more important is the collaboration, and I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, amazing. I think this is the perfect end to a great conversation with you two. I would love to thank you for your time and being here and being open and sharing your thoughts and ideas. And let's make sure we collaborate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you so much for the audience watching us. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, René.
Bye-bye, Marco. Talk to you later.
So that was an amazing collaboration for them too. I'm super excited to hear what comes after this for them. I honestly just want to thank everyone who listened into the Accessibility Innovators chat today. It has come to an end. I want to thank our ambassadors, Amar, Aruka, Yessa, Hassan, Salih, Benjamin. Very valuable insights, and we're super happy to have you guys as our ambassadors. And of course, also the innovators from Be My Eyes, Lazarillo, Sunu Band, Cash Reader, and Microsoft. It was a pleasure and honestly just an honor to be able to talk to you all and get a little deeper understanding in what accessibility is to you. Yeah, and see what is on the roadmap for you all. Thank you for tuning in today. One last message is that we have a special discount code on the Envision glasses for you. That is going to be code GAAD10. We'll post it on social, so you will see it flying by. If for whatever reason you want to see the webinar again, we'll post it on social media as well. So feel free to share, and we would love to see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Introducing Envision Glasses, the new AI-powered smart glasses by Envision, empowering the blind and visually impaired to be more independent. Available for pre-order now.